France will provide €1 billion in economic support to Tunisia over the next 5 years. The announcement came as Tunisia imposed a curfew following unemployment protests. CCTV's Kate Parkinson reports now from Paris.
French President François Hollande said France will put together a €1 billion economic support package for Tunisia. A major aspect of the plan is to help young people and poor regions, putting a focus on employment. The announcement came after Hollande held talks with the Tunisian Prime Minister Habib Essid in Paris, and as Tunis announced a nationwide curfew following protests in several cities over high unemployment rates. At least one person has been killed in the unrest. The Tunisian Prime Minister cut short his European trip to return home to deal with the crisis, although while still in Paris he insisted the situation had been brought under control. The violent demonstrations over unemployment open a new front of concern for Tunisia, which is already struggling from a foundering economy and the threat of terrorism after 3 major attacks last year. France says it will help Tunisia deal with its social and economic problems. French Prime Minister Manuel Valls will travel to Tunisia later this year to jointly chair the first meeting of a high-level Franco-Tunisian committee. Kate Parkinson, CCTV, Paris.
Well, those protests in Tunisia are concerning the entire region. Tunisian Prime Minister Habib Essid at the weekend called for calm. He assured citizens that he will not go back on the country's young democracy. The protesters have been calling for more jobs and a lower cost of living. And while the Prime Minister says he hears them, it will take time.
There are pressures and problems on a national and regional level, and the government has moved on this. But what we have done is not enough, and we must do more. And this is our duty, and we have no other way to calm the tensions, especially among our young people who have waited for so long.
Well, Egypt too has been expressing its concern over the protests in Tunisia. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi at the weekend urged Tunisians not to ruin their country. The Egyptian leader called on Tunisians to contain the turmoil and clashes between protesters and security forces. Egypt is preparing to commemorate 5 years since the January 25th uprising that saw Hosni Mubarak ousted as president in 2011. There are some concerns that protests will take place in Egypt, especially with the current volatility in Tunisia. Let's get you more on that story now. And CCTV's Adel Mahrour is joining me live from Cairo. Adel, Egypt itself is going to be commemorating on Monday the uprising in the Tahrir Square in Egypt. But let's start with the situation in Tunisia. Have things there calmed down? What's the latest?
Well, basically, since yesterday, it seems that calm has been more or less prevailing, or at least significant clashes and strong movements that we've seen in the previous days have been not as evident as they were before. So basically, still about calm. The steps taken by the government to impose a late night curfew have been extended indefinitely, sort of to try to maintain the control over the outbreak and the security matters in the country itself. But overall, there's still a sense of alarm. Many are waiting to see what will happen next. There are beliefs that there might be another eruption and another strong move of protests that would come by the weekend. But overall, it is in a state of watch and monitor what will happen next.
Well, as Egypt is watching, though, it is preparing as well to mark its 5 years since the January 25th uprising. Given the issues happening in Tunisia, how concerned is the Egyptian government that protests may break out in Cairo?
Well, basically, the Egyptian government, from all the statements released by the officials, particularly, for example, the Interior Minister, Magdi Abdel Ghaffar, who just in his latest statement to the media, said that he is not concerned at all by whatever going to happen on the 25th of January, tomorrow, and the marking of the 5 years on the anniversary itself. He believes that Egyptians have been celebrating the police day. Both coincide together. The police day and the beginning of the uprising in 2011 was to mark the police day. So he believes that Egyptians are more aware and that there will not be any major events to fear. But at the same time, what happened in Tunisia was quite a surprise, and many analysts believe it could have an effect. But at least officially, no revolutionary powers, no youth groups, or even the Muslim Brotherhood has officially announced that they will be doing any protests in any parts of the countries. Nonetheless, there have been some minor protests from supporters who are believed to be or belong to the Muslim Brotherhood, who have been holding some very small rallies, not evident in main streets or in great numbers, but in their own neighborhoods where they have a stronghold. In such neighborhoods, they do small rallies in support or to revive and mark this anniversary.
All right, Adel Mahmouri for us there in Cairo. Thank you.